Okay, well, I would like to record this and for what it's worth. And excuse me. Um, anyway, I would like to say something as let me see if I can make sure this is correct. As a person described by the original Constitution and other founding documents as a American with all rights and privileges. That is to say, as someone described by the Constitution as, as a white Christian male landowner who was described by the original founding documents, especially the Constitution, as a person entitled to vote and run for office and thus govern in the United States of America at its founding, which was founded as a republic, a representative republic, not a democracy. It has become something of a democracy, and in doing so has become far less than it was. And that's basically the gist of my statement I would like to make, is that I speak from a position of a person who I realize is privileged. In a sense, I do not say that my privilege is elevated above anyone else's. I just say that my privilege is defined by the United States of America's founding documents. I was born Christian. I am obviously white, unfortunately. It's a genetic problem. It's not a privilege, it's a genetic problem. It's called inbreeding. My brain had to evolve to compensate for my physical deficiencies. That's what whiteness is. Thank you. So you can kind of get a sense of where I'm speaking from here. I know my place. But the founding documents of the United States of America define me as originally, the original form of those documents, the original form of the founding documents, because they are mutable, they are adaptive documents and have changed. But the original form of the documents define someone like me as a full, privileged American able to govern and vote, unlike others. I was born Christian, white, obviously male, and I do not presently own, well, actually, I technically do own land, and I may actually be on deeds of lands. I was due to inherit other lands as well, but I know that I am entitled owner of a small piece of property in Big Bear, California. My father was to have left it to us, and stated as much, but it was stolen by my aunts, who coincidentally weren't described by the original founding documents as able to do so, or vote, or be in the position of political power that my one aunt had. That would be, I can't remember her first name. Memory problems and family problems combined. Donna Palmer from San Diego originally, yes, from hazmat fame. Yes, stole with, in conspiracy with Gladys, I guess she's going by Delia these days, stole my inheritance, mine and my brother's inheritance. So yes, I am a landowning white Christian male, defined by the original U.S. founding documents as privileged enough to be able to run for office and vote. I am, as defined by the United States founding documents, a true American. Original form of those documents. So I am an original true American. I'm not saying no one else is a true American. I am saying that I am as originally created, or as originally written, defined as a true American. So I have a right to speak about my country. Two qualifiers to this that especially give me position to speak. First is that I am in Mexico on a boat, trying to apply for refuge in a country that isn't run by Mexicans, in a state of Mexico that isn't run by Mexicans. It's run by anyone else, but mostly actually a Jewish American and his son and family and friends and other, co-corrupt people. But anyway, I'm here out of the United States of America, where I have fled because, and I will speak to the reasons, but I am here for my protection. Yeah, I'm in a place that's run by people that hate me and are trying to drive me out, and it's very dangerous to me, but it's safer than the United States of America. So that is the first qualifier, is that I am an American who had to flee my own country because I was run out of my own country. Okay. Secondly, qualifier is that I am, well, I can probably safely say the smartest American, the most intelligent American is possible. I don't know my actual IQ, and you can't tell, but it is possible. Let me say that. That is true. It is possible that I am the most intelligent American. It's also not impossible, not likely, but not impossible that I am the most intelligent American there ever was. Yes, including Benjamin Franklin, who, by the way, was more intelligent than Einstein. Thank you. Yes, Benjamin Franklin was probably the most intelligent American in history. Wow. Brilliant guy. Hats off to you. Hair off, too. Anyway, so those are the two things I speak from. I was a member of Mensa. I tested informally. My IQ was measured and put me at the 99.28th percentile, which means that out of 10,000 people, only 72 would be measured as being more intelligent for the measurement. It also has to do with potential. If you don't fill the jar, it's not a bigger jar. You're not more intelligent if you don't use it. So I've used it. I've had to. I've been made to be self-efficient all of my life because I've been mistreated all of my life for I don't know why, other than my intelligence, I guess, and empathy. But so I speak from that position. I speak from the position of being a person who, in an informal test, which is sufficient to gain membership into an organization called Mensa, as being more intelligent than 99.28% of people in America. So I'm one of the actual elite. Okay. Excuse me. So I speak to you from a position as defined by the original form of the founding documents of the United States of America as a privileged American who is independently verified as superior in intelligence to the vast majority. So I have something to say, and I think I'm entitled to say so, and I think it would be wise if at least some people were to listen. Now, as to what I have to say, first of all, I'm doing this as a follow-up to a editorial I wrote, a blog entry on my blog, free plug here, some little graphic for me if you feel like it, whatever. The green screen is just because. But anyway, freebie here is that please stop bashing America for the wrong reasons. Oh yeah, screensaver, is an editorial I wrote. It's on my blog, disperser.info/blog. And it's a complaint I have because I'm reading news stories, especially from foreign media, because I just don't read American media. It's not American. We'll get to that. But I'm reading all this bashing of America. You know, this electoral college is just unfair. It's so undemocratic. It's undemocratic. It's not really. America is not a democracy. That is my first statement. Okay, America is not a democracy. It has become much more democratic. And in many ways that is bad. We'll get to that. But it is not a democracy. It is a representative republic made up of, supposed to be, made up of strong state governments and a weak federal government, which unites them loosely. Oh, you mean kind of like the European Union? Yeah, really. Yeah, the European Union got imposed on itself by the American CIA and other operatives or operating agencies, the form of government that the United States of America is supposed to have. So, although the European Union is not a very good form of government, I mean, it's just as bad, if not worse, than here. Yeah, I'm here in America, but I'm not in the United States of America. I'm actually in the United States of Mexico, which is also supposed to be a strong republic of independent states, etc., etc. Modeled after America, but legally following the French. Which is why they're so fucked up. Excuse my editorials. Everybody's fucked up, for the record, okay? Everybody is fucked up. Every country is fucked up. I hate everybody equally, so don't fucking point fingers or blame or whatever. Fuck you. I hate everybody. Okay? Alright. We'll get to that too. You don't have to stop watching because I said I hate you. I am in a position of entitled privilege. If you don't think, for example, that President Trump hates you, whatever. He loves you, but he hates you. That's okay. I love you, but I hate you. We'll get to that. So anyway, my reasons for doing this again are because of this editorial, Stop Bashing America. It's not a democracy. It's a representative republic. It's not about the President of the United States. The election is not a popularity contest. It's about the states getting together and saying, hey, you know, who do we want to administer this weak federal government that, you know, Georgia, the state of Georgia. Okay, let's go way worse than that. Mississippi. Their government in Mississippi should be far more powerful than the federal government of the United States of America. Okay? That's what America is. Okay, and as I stated in my editorial, the most important thing about America from the international perspective is that America was an experiment. It was the first of its kind. A bunch of people fled oppression in Europe, fled the central banks, fled the central governments, the powerful, oppressive governments that wanted to censor and control people's lives. They went on boats. I live on a boat. They went on boats and fled that oppression and followed their adventurous minds to the New World. And they got together in their little groups, colonies eventually. And the colonies got together and said, hey, let's protect ourselves. Let's have some kind of a federal government that we can do something together to protect ourselves and interact with the rest of the world. But otherwise, we're strong independent states. We want to stay strong independent states. And we wrote that up and we defined it. And we said, we are going to govern ourselves. We're not going to let someone govern us. We're going to govern ourselves. But ourselves is those of us who came here. Those of us who got on boats and brought our beliefs and our cultures to the New World. And we decided that because we are the ones that brought it all here, that we were the ones that were going to run it for the benefit of everyone else. Yeah, it changed. And it needs to have changed. No, not just white Christian male landowners should be the only ones allowed to be in politics and to vote. But far too many people have been given that privilege. And it has been abused. And if you take a look at your history, as I've done so recently, and which is why I'm doing this video right now, you would see as well that the United States of America has lost its way, and that it did so because it gave the privilege to people who didn't have enough respect for it. Not people defined by anything other than their lack of respect for it. Okay? I don't speak to race. I don't speak to class. I don't speak to anything except my understanding that there are two types of human beings. Human beings and diseased human beings who cannot be called human beings because they lack an important aspect of the development: empathy. There are two kinds of human beings. I don't care about anything else. So I'm not speaking to giving the vote to women or giving the vote to blacks or anything like that. It was the wrong thing that did this to America. No. None of that is the cause of that. And that is why you're watching this, and you're going to listen, and you're going to go out there and you're going to verify for yourself and see that my perspective on history is the correct perspective. That America was polluted by privilege of voting being given to the wrong people and allowing things to go from there. And it happened with the world's help. What I'm speaking to is when America was originally founded, the vote and the right to run for office was held only in the hands of white Christian male landowners, the people who founded the country, people like me. Let me state this right now. I believe that should be extended. I think I already stated that. I believe that should be extended. But history goes something like this. The vote was given to all men in 1856. It was, oh man, I don't know the specifics right now. I just wrote it down. But it wasn't until 1920 that women were given the right to vote. I didn't realize this. 1920. And not all women. It wasn't until 1952 that Asian women were given the right to vote. So the privilege of voting was given to everyone, but only to women in the last century. And the first thing that happened after women were given the right to vote was prohibition. Cause and effect. It's not misogyny, it's not anything else but cause and effect. Women were given the right to vote, prohibition occurred. Prohibition was repealed. The nation realized it made a mistake. It corrected what it thought was the mistake. I don't think it went far enough. I think that giving women the right to vote was something that was not earned appropriately. I don't think that the suffragette movement, excuse me, I need water. I can't reach it. I have to pause. I need water. Okay, I'm back. Anyway, getting a little bit too detailed there about cause and effect. I haven't spent much time analyzing, actually doing that while I'm talking about it. But the biggest change in American history that made things the way they are isn't the 1920s. Wasn't after that. It was actually before anyone else was given the right to vote. So it it was coincident when all men were given the right to vote, when non-landowners were given the right to vote. So 1856. My analysis of history right now, so far, my understanding is, this is a dynamic understanding, so I fill in the blanks. My present understanding is that the biggest change, the most dramatic change, the worst change, the fundamental change that made things as crappy as they are today was the period before the Civil War. Civil War being the culmination of those events. What happened was you had a buildup of industrialization in the big cities. The big cities started to build up, and you had industrialization, and thus you had no need for slave labor. But you still had the South was producing was your crops, your traditional industries, and they were still reliant on slave labor. Now, if you look at Article 4 of the U.S. Constitution, this was enshrined in the U.S. Constitution. Land ownership was a privilege, and slave ownership was a part of that privilege. And it is enshrined in the Constitution. Now, caveat, I'm not endorsing slavery. I don't think it was right then. I don't think it's right at all, ever. It's bullshit, and it comes from that other form of human, that diseased, not really human, shouldn't be called human. That's where slavery came from. So America was in part founded on wrong principles, because it was in part founded by people who aren't even human. But that's okay, because the same thing applies to all nations, all states, all societies. Okay, so going back to it. So we're limiting the scope to just America here, aren't we? All right, now. So going back to America and its history, you have, excuse me, I'm a bit distracted, trying to make sure this is recording okay. You have, the vote was extended in 1856 in this drive, well, like I said, this drive in industrialization. The big cities started to build up. And this was a fear that was expressed by and remedied through a lot of work in the founding documents. They didn't want to have the bigger cities, the bigger states take power over the smaller ones. So they put that in the Constitution to prevent that from happening. But it started to happen anyway. But there were mechanisms in place to prevent this from happening. However, those mechanisms were violated. And if you look at your history running up to the Civil War, slavery became a moral issue, became moral in the whole world. And there were holdouts in the South and elsewhere in the United States of America that stuck with that idea. But even those people, even those states, their ideas were changing. But they weren't changing fast enough for the rest of the world. And the reason I say that is because what happened was some of the states passed laws saying that if slaves escaped into their states, they would be freed. And this was in direct violation of the Constitution, at Article 4. It says if someone indentured to labor escapes into another jurisdiction, it can be surrendered upon claim. And states passed a law that violated that. So eventually, 13 states in total formed the Confederate States of America, seceded from the Union legally, and per instruction of founding documents. Read the Declaration of Independence, where in the course of human events it becomes necessary. Okay, that's necessary. So these states legally and by requirement of the law by, I don't know the word, I'm sorry, I've suffered brain damage and words don't come to me always, by necessity of the law, of the founding documents of the nation, these states seceded from the Union because these other states, the whole of the nation, and with the world's backing, were telling these states what to do in violation of the principles of these documents. Not in violation of the principles of what they were fighting for. It was not about slavery. Yeah, it was a poor issue to follow. It wasn't very strategically done, but it was not strategically responded to was the problem. Because they should have said, wait a minute, slavery may be an issue here. Yeah, we were thinking about it. But let's think about it and go through the legal process of changing it. Otherwise, we might subvert the whole goddamn thing. I'm not a practicing Christian, I don't believe, so I'm not blaspheming anybody, so so that's what was at issue. Okay. Yeah, some people were a little more zealous, some states were a little more zealous and more direct about their, no, we want our fucking slavery. But the issue was not slavery. The issue was a violation of the founding principles of the grand experiment of the United States of America. And guess what? This former union of strong states united by a weak federal government able to function only to keep these strong states as strong states did become very quickly a nation run by bullies in big city who had no stake in the nation's health and well-being on a fundamental basis. At least no direct stake. Now, was this right? Oh, hell no. No, I think America was founded on wrong principles. I think that while Benjamin Franklin was a genius and did try to insert mechanisms to ensure that everybody had the right, I think his inability to foresee the power of influence of the lack of empathy in people, his lack of understanding of this disease, prevented him from preventing what happened. And I think he just wasn't enough of a revolutionary. I think he was enjoying privilege a bit too much. So America was wrongfully founded by people who took advantage of the situation, took advantage of a lot of people, and built the nation for themselves. However, the efforts to try and fix that were just as equally evil. Okay, because remember there's two types of people? Well, there's you and me, not Democrats and Republicans. There's you and me. There's people with empathy and people without. And Republicans and Democrats are both without. Anybody in government, anybody in power, anybody in any kind of an elevated position is that kind of person. And is that kind of person for which all societies were founded. Was America therefore any different in its founding than other nations? Slightly. I don't think it should be white Christian male landowners. Actually, it should be white. It should be said to be white Christian male landowning slave owners. But slave owning wasn't a requirement. It was just, oh yeah, you own land, you own slaves too. Oh, you don't own slaves? Oh my, why not? You own land? Oh, it's only 5 acres. Oh, okay. Oh, well, you're still a landowner, dude. So no, I don't think it should have been white Christian male landowners. Well, no, I'm sorry. I don't think it should have been white Christian landowners. I don't think it should be landowners. My personal thing is you can't own land, but you can't have a nation without land. So those are waves. not me swallowing. Actually, it was me swallowing while there was waves going, so if you heard any of that. My personal take is it should have been any, from that context, it should have been any landowner, male landowner. Christian was a way to say no Muslims, because Christians, at the behest of others, have been against Muslims since, well, the Dark Ages, or because of that. Anyway, you're not going to see any bias in my criticism of human history. America is just as fucked up as the rest of human society, okay? But the scope here is limited to just America. So we're just going to talk about America. Alright. So the point of the editorial was to say, hey, look, stop bashing America for being what it is, because it's not what it's supposed to be. Which the point of that is to say, hey, look, America would be a hell of a lot better if it was what it was supposed to be. And I think I have some respect for that idea, and thus could see the perspective of those who put forward that idea. Is there anyone genuinely doing so? No, not as people assume. No, make America great again? No, he wanted to make America great for himself again, back before the gold standard was let go and central bank had unlimited power on controlling people's wealth. But after 1929, or after the 1920s, when they finally got rid of that progressive income tax on people, 90% tax bracket. Oh, that wasn't just in a movie. That was reality, folks. Wait, the Great Depression happened after that? Gee. Oh, by the way, important thing here, okay? America, United States of America, was taken over by those other people, the non-human people. It was founded by them, but it was founded by them intelligently and with the idea of being, okay, we'll take care of them. I really think that as far as societies are concerned, America, yes, was an ideal society. It was a fucking utopia relative to all the rest of them in existence at the time. And that it was great. Why it didn't become what it was is because of the Civil War. And so I think that as far as your societies are concerned, that you could fix the shit if you went back. But not back to the 1960s, 1950s, 40s, whatever, 30s, 40s. It'd be 50s. Yeah, 1950s, I think is from, yeah, it was his childhood. Yeah, 1950. He was born in the 50s. So yeah, 1950s, early 60s. No, I don't think we should go back to that. I think we should go back to the 1840s, 30s, 20s. Yeah, before cars too. Wouldn't that be great? Wow. Wild West, Gold Rush. Yeah. We'll see if I was president. Let me tip my cowboy hat. No, I think the experiment has potential. I mean, it was great for a while. It really was. I mean, I wished I'd have been I do this to people. I give them a challenge to think about something. Which would you rather participate in? Which would you think was the greater adventure in American history? Sending man to the moon or Lewis and Clark expedition? Which was the greater adventure? Which was the more difficult endeavor? The more important to American history? The more revealing? The more demonstrative of what America was all about? And people think, sending man to the moon. No, far from it. That was, anybody could do that. Anybody could do that, literally. Anybody could do that. Okay? Chinese had a probe on the moon. Okay, Anybody can do that. Lewis and Clark did what they did alone. They set off, they planned ahead and set off for an adventure without support, without teams of scientists sitting there saying, no, you can't do it this way. Nobody modeled every aspect of their journey. Nobody monitored every aspect of themselves in their journey. They were on their own. That was a grand adventure. And that's the America that I see, that I imagine. As far as societies, again, societies are wrong. That's why I'm not in one. And yeah, I guess you could say that cancels my privilege. No, I'm still a white Christian male landowner and a U.S. citizen. I'm still fucking American. And I have a say. And I think the shit that is America today is bullshit. I think it's trash. I think it's fucking crap. And I think that if you're going to do a goddamn great reset digitally, I think all this nonsense of this planning ahead and positioning yourself and getting yourself in this position of privilege with land and other assets is bullshit. I think, I don't know what, I don't know how to solve it, but I don't think that anybody but landowners should have that, or anybody but real actual stakeholders, business owners, not corporations. Corporation, you're not a business, you're an individual. Okay, so corporations should have zero privilege in the United States of America. That is the meaning of a corporation, actually. If you want to go back to the original, let's go back to the original ideas, not the twisted, mutated forms of them. Let's go back to that original idea. Business owners. How about that? People who ply their way. Oh, I know another class of people. Militias. You remember militia? You have all the privileges. You can run for office and you can vote. You have a business of your own. You can run for office and you can vote. Or if you're part of a democratic business, like I hope they still are, but in the Michael Moore Capitalism: A Love Story documentary, I think there's a profile of a business that was democratic, had no bosses. Great. Hey, members of a fucking commune. Guess what? They own land. Not each of them. Collectively. So members of a commune could be stakeholders in America. You could have communists who would have one vote per commune. They're stakeholders. One guy owned 5 million acres. Rancher up in Idaho. You know, I was going to own, what was it? I wanted at least 1,000 on the bottom and a couple of million up in the upper reaches for grazing. A small ranch. Very small ranch. You know, a grand landowner. I could manage 1,000 acres and 2 million acres of grazing land. Piece of cake. I have that much say. Commune, you have 20 acres in Sonoma County or some shit. One vote for those 20 acres. My 2 million. One vote. What's my stake? I need that 2 million acres to raise cattle. Enough cattle that I can maintain more income coming in than I have to expend, so that I can continue to provide a supply of meat to those who need it. What does the commune do? Provides a place for people to sustain themselves. They don't need me, so they have a representation. It's just an idea. I just came up with it. It's just a thought. You could have them too, if you're a stakeholder. But I think what needs to really happen is for people to ask themselves, are you a stakeholder in the state that is the United States of America? Are you someone who contributes to that grand experiment of allowing people the right to take care of themselves and each other how they wish, and to be able to maintain that or protect that? I don't think that everybody working for fucking corporations is a good idea. I don't think that listening to people fucking tell us to put masks on and not go to fucking Christmas parties and whatever shit is fucking right. Okay. That's bullshit. Corporations have no power. They have no stake. What's their stake? They take. They don't give anything. They take. Corporations have no stake. So that's the first thing you need to do, is get rid of the damn corporations. At least get rid of the power that they have. They shouldn't have any power. The laws, they even say it themselves. Oh, we're a person. Okay, you're a person. You all collectively have given up your sovereignty because you now work for a corporation and become an entity. So if your life is for working for a corporation, even if from the mailroom, from the janitor, all the way up to the CEO, if your life is for working for that corporation, then you have given up your sovereignty and traded it for the portion of cooperation in that community called a corporation. Yes, corporations are communes. Very communistic, economically speaking. And by the way, CEO should not have any privilege. CEO shouldn't even exist, actually. A corporation, you can't have a corporation defining all of the persons involved as an individual and still have an individual. No, you can't have the head of the Communist Party, see? It's because communism is true democracy. That's why you hate it so much. Because democracy is bad. Okay? Democracy is bad. Okay? Rule shouldn't exist, actually. Should be follow. And we've always done that. And that's why America was founded as it was. It was founded on the principle of following. Following the stakeholders. Oh, I'm going to go to the United States of America and I'm going to provide cattle for myself. And because I need to be able to make sure I can continue to do so, I'll have to provide for others as well. I'm a stakeholder. I'm a steak maker. And I'm going to need help. I'm going to need ranch hands. And I'm going to need people who aren't as intelligent and capable as I am to work on my ranch. And I'll need to provide for them in a way that they'll continue to work for me and not steal my stuff, kill me, take over my shit, things like that. Where did it all go wrong? It all went wrong from the foundation. But the founding documents of the United States of America had figured out a way to make it sustainable. So if you want to have your societies to continue to work, you need to go back to the foundation of the United States of America. Rethink it, redo it, change the definition of stakeholder, change the description of the stakeholder, do it over again. That's my 2 cents. That's my input. That's my statement here, I guess. But otherwise, what in the fuck do you people think you are doing? Thinking that because you're 18 and you can get a driver's license and this and that you've got a stake and you can vote and you can determine who leads America. The President of the United States of America does not lead America. He is the administrative officer of a small, weak government that is servile completely to all states in the Union, and is there to provide for those states so that they can exist as a union of people, of stakeholders, of their self-defined collection that have come together and formed their own unions so that they could practice their different ways of living. That's what America is supposed to be. The shit that it is right now is not good. It's not right. It's not America. Okay. Fucking election is bullshit. It doesn't mean anything. Okay. If Donald Trump wants to earn some place in history, living history, who cares about the history books? Living history. You want to be popular, you want to be famous, you want to be everybody talking about you for the rest of their lives, then do something about the fact that your office is way more elevated than it should be. Abdicate your power, and in doing so, shrink the federal government to the size it's supposed to be, which would be about invisible relative to what it is now. Disband the military. Give, how can you do the vote thing? I don't know, but disband the military and form militias instead. Make America not the best, most offensive country in the world, but the best defended. Disband the military and tell the bases, tell them, okay, you can use the resources, but you have to form, with citizens, militias. Independent militias. Reorganize. It's very simple. It's very, very simple. It could be done. It just... Is it going to be done? No. Hell no, it's not. It's this human problem, these two different kinds of people. And it's just... I don't see it happening. But here's you can do it. You can do it. Here's the answer right here. This is how you do it. Stakeholders only. Change the definitions back to what they were supposed to be, but tweak it a little bit. Not Christian male Christian landowners. Stakeholders, business owners, militias, communes, anybody that has a stake in the great experiment. Communists have just as much right as capitalists in your world. Why do you capitalists have to drive out everyone else? Why? Oh yeah, it's that we're not actually human. Okay, you're supposed to be able to prevent that, but it means understanding what the experiment is. It means understanding what America is, and understanding what America is not supposed to be. And what America is right now is not what America is supposed to be. How do you fix it? How do you fix it? How you fix it is you understand it. Once you understand it, then you see, oh, okay, well the problem is because it's not what it's supposed to be. Why don't we gravitate towards that? So if everybody understands that it's not what's supposed to be, and understands that the solution is to gravitate towards it, then everybody's going to gravitate towards it. Oh, well, I personally can. Okay, that's all that has to happen. It's really easy, actually. You want to fix the whole world's problems, just everybody watch this video. Blank out my face. There's a green screen behind me. Do whatever the hell you want with it. Blank out my face. Blank me out. I don't care. Take out just the audio. Transcribe it if someone hasn't already. This is the solution. Just go back to how the great experiment solved the problem of what to do about these people who have their heads so far up their asses they're not actually human. They're diseased. They don't have empathy. Okay, they have to have empathy. If you want to fix it in the future, if you're going to have children, which I don't think anybody should for a while, don't you think? Stop having kids for a while. Stop having kids for a while, figure this shit out, and then start over again. Wow, that's... How do you stop having kids? Just stop having kids. Just stop having kids. Oh, they're having kids. Just stop having kids. It'll eventually stop. You wait about 75 years to reduce the population to a sustainable level. Then you can start having kids again. It'll take you about that long to figure it out anyway, because you got to get rid of the generations that aren't going to do anything. So just wait for them to die off. So just have 2 or 3 generations, 75 years or so, with no kids, or very few, and start over again. Okay, and do it right. You use the founding documents, the United States of America, as a good blueprint. The whole world that way. Whatever. I don't know. Something like that. The solution isn't... I'm not going to give you the answer, the solution. I'm going to give you the ability to find it. And that is to understand America as a great experiment, as a solution to how to fix societies. All of them. Anyway. Anything else I want to cover here? Talk about? This. Just to have a little perspective. It's individuals. You know, democracy is in your head. Democracy is something you participate in. Democracy is an ideal. Democracy can only happen if everybody is at the same level of having achieved their potential. If everybody is a super genius. The only way democracy would work is if everybody was Benjamin Franklin. You know? Read about the guy. Read his autobiography sometime. Read about the guy. Really, his autobiography is about, the Yay Fig. Brilliant. But, if everybody was Benjamin Franklin, then yeah, democracy would work, because everybody would be super geniuses, able to figure things out. And of course you'd want to know what everybody else thought, because if they're all intelligent and thinking independently and reasoning by themselves, and all coming up with the same idea, then yeah, you want to do that, because if you disagree with that, you want to know why. So, that's democracy. That's the only way it can work. So don't get this fool idea in your head that America's a democracy. America is a nation run by stakeholders. Right? And right now, the idea of what a stakeholder is so twisted in people's minds, they don't get it. They think they're stakeholders because it's democracy. No, you have to be a stakeholder to have the privilege, the perspective, to see where democracy could exist if that's even your thought. Anyway, I'm very tired. I should go to bed. But I just wanted to have a little say. I hope it can be heard. I'm tired of being ignored. I'm tired of being run out of my own everything. I'm tired of being run out of my own country. I'm tired of being run out of the country I'm seeking refuge from by people from my own country. Fuck you. I'm tired of being ignored. I'm tired of being shut up and shut down. God damn it, I'm a fucking American defined by the original form of the original founding documents. I am a fucking American. I am a stakeholder. You will fucking listen to me. You don't have to do as I say, but you do have to listen to me. Okay? All of you others who think, that you have a stake, just fuck you, man. Especially a corporation's fucking Facebook, Well, there's one for you. All these Twitter. What in the I've never been on Twitter. Okay. I've been on the website a couple of times with JavaScript turned off or sometimes on so I could read something. But I've never been on Twitter, used it, whatever. I don't even read it. And I'm getting tired of reading news stories generated by it. So I'm trying to phase out doing that. But no, I don't do Twitter. What the fuck? Why are you letting a corporation define your means of communication and receiving news? Twitter should be the shouldn't exist. Okay, it's a corporation. Okay, which it's publicly owned. Okay, so if it's publicly owned, so are its products. Okay, so a person at Twitter doesn't have the right to say you can't this. It's a public corporation providing public service. It should be free. The internet was never supposed to be about profit. It was always supposed to be about communication between human beings. Actually, it was about spying on people. It always was supposed to be. Who invented the internet? Oh, government spy agency, defense industry spy agency, same thing. So, anyway, I'm rambling. But I can do that, and you still have to listen, because I'm an American, and I was born into that privilege. And I fought as hard as I could. I would still own property had those changes not been made. Just saying. It's not misogyny, it's called resentment. So, fix your shit, stop bashing America for what it isn't, stop assuming America's a fucking democracy, and stop paying attention to fucking presidential fucking elections that don't mean fucking shit. And if you happen to be the president, which you, by the way, should be listening to me, you're also an American. You are a white Christian male landowner as well. At least you technically are a landowner. You know, we can assume that. Then, we're equal. So you have no privilege over me, Donald Trump. And while I'm not in government, that doesn't mean I have less of a stake. Sorry, there must be a Harel hunting around my jungle of a boat. So hopefully you are listening to me, Mr. Donald Trump. But, anyway, I do encourage other white Christian male landowners to speak up as well. Speak to your actual privilege, not your privilege that you think you have. You know, if you're someone who is an actual stakeholder, then I think you should have something to say. But I think that I think it would be interesting to hear what other white Christian male landowners have to say about things. For example, I mean, who cares whether it's Trump or Biden? Why the fuck are people paying so much attention to an office that just has no real meaning? You know, well, we do need him, but no, he doesn't do much. Just make sure we can do trade, and if we need to protect ourselves, raise a military. That's why this bullshit with these other people. They just want to bully. America's not a bully nation. It wasn't founded as such. Benjamin Franklin wasn't a fucking bully. Anyway. Good night, America. Good night, world.